Surviving in the snowy wilderness is incredibly tough. Contestants who catch fish can enjoy a full meal, while those who don't have to go hungry. They dream of food, and even with a fire in their shelters, they still shiver from the cold at night. By the 55th day, the temperature has dropped significantly. Big shakes his head in front of the camera, looking like a cow wanting to graze, or maybe he just wants to eat fish. I wish I could stuff some fishy-smelling grass into his mouth, then he'd get both grass and a fishy taste. Perfect. As winter deepens, fishing gets tougher. Bick heads to the shore with a pot for water, only to find his fishing nets frozen solid, making fishing impossible. The cold demands lots of firewood, so Bick spends most of his time gathering it. Chopping wood is exhausting, and without steady food, his energy drains fast. He warms his smelly feet by the fire, accidentally burning a hole in his sock. Luckily, the hole in Bick's sock isn't a big issue, and he can still wear it. The fireplace in his shelter is a lifesaver, and he spends most of his day burning wood to stay warm. On the 56th day, Teresa tidies up her mattress early in the morning, feeling extremely hungry. She knows she needs a warm mattress to sleep through the cold night. The weather keeps getting colder, and she wishes she could order takeout to last a while. The area is blanketed in snow, and the trees are bare. Teresa hopes to find some berries and is fortunate to discover a bush full of them. These berries are enough to last her 2 days. She collects them all, knowing this might be the last food she can find. Colt has been hiding in his shelter, wasting an entire day making dice. This guy seems to have too much free time. Instead of gathering food, he's making these things. He even rolled a straight from 1 to 5, which is useless in reality. Soon, he rolled 5 of a kind, which would make even Chow Yun-Fat call him master. When he finally steps outside to check, he finds his boat has capsized. He has no idea what to do now, especially with the weather being so cold. He really doesn't want to get into the freezing water to fix it. Without the boat, he can't fish in deeper waters. The snow-covered log is too risky to walk on. After thinking it over, he decides to crawl along the log, knowing a fall would be disastrous. He cuts the rope with a knife and drags the boat back using the log. Slowly, he manages to get it to shore, but it's already filled with water. It was likely leaking. Colt slowly dragged the boat ashore, but it had already sustained some damage. He was so exhausted that he sat by the shore, his voice barely audible. The small boat was very useful to him. Even though he was extremely tired, it was still a valuable asset. These guys are like that. Even when they're very hungry, they won't go fishing. I looked at the chicken leg in my hand, threw it to the dog, and didn't want to eat it. By the 57th day, the weather was getting colder by the day, now around -10 degrees. Clays got up and put on clothes, the kind I could wear dozens of as a kid. Clays is the most diligent contestant when it comes to getting food. He checks the fishing nets at the shore every day, hoping to catch some fish. Even though the fishing line was frozen, which didn't stop it from catching fish, Clays, with his OCD, insisted on unfreezing it before pulling the net. He pulled the net back with great effort. It looked heavy, making it seem like he had caught a lot of fish. To his surprise, he actually caught one. The fish is stuck in the water, likely caught on a rock. Today, he managed to catch a big fish, though it's frozen stiff, it's still very fresh. Half of the net is torn, and Clays considers going into the deep, cold water to retrieve it, but it's too risky. He grabs a stick from the shore, but it breaks when he places it on the rocks. Undeterred, he ties a stone to a rope, throws it into the water, and moves to another spot to set up a tripod. It turns out he wants to place the net here. Time to fish. By the 58th day, Colt injured his eye while chopping wood. It hurts a lot, and he hopes it's not serious. He keeps it closed because opening it is too painful. He boiled water, let it cool, and used a syringe to rinse his eye. It felt gritty, but it wasn't too bad. Now he needs to check the fishing net, and luckily, the raft is still usable. Today is his father's birthday, and he hopes for good luck. He paddled to the deep water area, where only he could place the net. He saw the net. At the fishing net, Colt catches a fish. As he slowly pulls up the line, a 7-pound trout surfaces. After being hungry for so long, he finally has a meal and keeps saying, yes, yes, yes. He feels like he won this fish. He had been looking forward to this for a long time, and his father's birthday indeed brought him good luck. Completely immersed in the joy of fishing, Colt can't wait to make fish soup. This fish is like a rare delicacy and will last him several days. It was as tempting as lace. He vowed to make this dead fish pay a higher price. Colt made a pot of fish soup, and just a piece of fish was his dinner for today. It was a wonderful day, and with food for a few days, he swore he wouldn't give up. On the 59th day, Teresa made another pot of berry mush. After squeezing out the pulp, only some residue was left. Although it looked unappetizing, it was still food. Now, with the freezing weather and food scarcity, having something to eat was already a blessing. He carved a wooden coat hanger in the shelter, spending time on this instead of searching for food. Wasting time, I suspect these guys aren't really hungry. He kept cutting a stick with a knife, making a hook that seemed a bit too long. Then he used a saw to cut it, accidentally injuring his hand. This was truly awful. He kept sucking his own blood and took out a first aid kit to bandage himself. I bet he'll regret making that hanger. Injuring his hand at this time could make him quit and go home. Now he doesn't even feel like eating, constantly trying to encourage himself. He sat by the shore, looking at the scenery. Hurting his hand was a huge blow to him. He doesn't want to quit like this and is trying hard to control his mindset. If he could find something to do, he wouldn't be overthinking here. On the 60th day, Colt brought a lot of wood. He plans to make a raft. He just ate fish last night, so he has the energy to work today. The next day, feeling strong, he wove a second fishing net from rope. Having caught a big fish with the first net yesterday, he hoped 2 nets would boost his chances. Weaving took time, and it got dark around 4 in winter, but he kept at it until 7 in the evening. His dedication deserved a reward. On the 61st day, with light snow falling, he set out the new net, using a raft to reach deeper, colder waters where fish usually stay in winter. In the deeper area, Colt had the best chance of catching fish. After setting up the new net, he checked the first one, pulling it up with a rope while muttering to himself. As expected, there was nothing. He joked about catching a mythical creature instead of fish. Although he didn't catch anything today, he hoped for better luck tomorrow. With the heavy snow falling, he hurried back to warm up. On the 62nd day, Clays, who had caught a fish 2 days ago, wasn't hungry. The loud sound of the waves made him reluctant to check his net, so he grabbed his bow and went looking for grouse. On the 62nd day, Clays, who had caught a fish 2 days earlier, wasn't hungry. The loud waves made him reluctant to check his nets, so he grabbed his bow and went looking for grouse. He found fresh lion droppings, indicating the lion was nearby. If he couldn't catch a grouse, a lion would make a good meal too. Clays searched for the lion's tracks but didn't find it. He decided to make a tool at his shelter to attract the lion, hoping it would work. On the 63rd day, Clays woke up early, knowing it was the best time for hunting. Armed with his bow and arrow, he set out to find the lion. This guy really wasn't afraid of anything. He saw bear tracks in the snow, which looked fresh. The tracks were very close to his shelter. If he could hunt a bear, he might win the season. All his stored meat was in the shelter, and if the bear got to it, he'd be furious. He followed the tracks through the snow, which led straight to his shelter. This wasn't looking good. On the 64th day, Bick. After waking up, Bick felt surprisingly energetic despite the heavy snowfall and his days-long fast. His energy quickly waned, though. His shelter was solid, but he had no food or supplies. He checked his fishing nets, hoping for a catch. Initially, he aimed to lose weight but didn't expect to last this long. The nets were too shallow to catch anything. If he'd used his raft, he might have gained some weight by now. He struggled with the frozen wood while pulling up the nets and wanted to place them elsewhere, but he places the nets by the shore again, hoping for better luck. Honestly, I think hunger is clouding his judgment. He's skilled but doesn't always make the smartest choices. Climbing the hill nearly wiped him out. Now, he's digging up wild onions from a patch he found earlier, his only food source today. He lights a fire to cook them, but after eating, he feels even hungrier. The food just stirred up his stomach acid. He regrets it but remains determined. That $500,000 prize is his motivation to keep going. With that $500,000, he could go home, live well, and get married. It's now the 66th day. Another day has passed. Bick's routine is the same every day. Wake up and wait for nightfall. He set up fishing nets last night but has no idea how they fared. He needs to check them by the shore. Catching a fish now is like hitting the jackpot. He finds a small fish by the shore. He doesn't know why it's there, but it's a dream come true for him. After scaling it with a knife, even though there's not much meat, it's better than those wild onions. At least it's protein. The fish fries beautifully in the black iron pan. It's delicious. This meal will at least keep him going for another 2 days. Even though the fish is small, Bick savors every bite, enjoying the taste of protein. Colt plans to check his fishing nets today. He set up 2 nets in the water, hoping for a big catch. If he catches fish, he might just turn the tables and win the competition. He pulls up 1 net but finds nothing. The second net is also empty. Winter fishing is just too hard. Meanwhile, Clays is in his shelter making a wooden toy, a small airplane, as a gift for his son. It's quite intricate, but can making this plane win him $500,000? Only by lasting till the end can he earn enough to buy thousands of these little planes. At around 2 a.m. on the 67th day, Colt can't sleep. He feels extremely cold and keeps getting up to stoke the fire. Even with the fire, he still feels freezing. The show's crew arrives for the contestants' health check. Everyone is worried because rapid weight loss could lead to forced withdrawal. Being forced out now would be a huge loss. In the end, Colt decides to quit the competition, which surprises me a bit. Not long ago, he caught a fish. Perhaps the frustration of empty nets led to his decision. He can't bear the hunger anymore, so he heads home. What will the remaining contestants face? Stay tuned for the next episode.